In this video we're going to go over why you shouldn't install Aethersx2 in retail mode. Now I know I made a video on how to do this, but I've later discovered you should not do this. So this video is going to go over why you shouldn't use retail mode for Aethersx2, because I still believe that RetroArch is fine. It's also going to go over how to get into dev mode, how to sign up for it, and how to install the apps. So why shouldn't I use retail mode for Aethersx2? Well, there's a good few reasons. The pros to doing it that way is obviously you don't pay for a dev license, it's free, easy to install, and it keeps you in retail mode, so all your other games are to hand. So when I made that video on how to install Aethersx2 in retail mode, I had a few questions, and I asked people to join the Discord server, link is in the description below, to give them some more help and support. And I had quite a few questions regarding it. So one of those questions that I was asked in the Discord server was how to run 60 FPS patches, sort of upgrades, modifiers, and also how to run cheats. So of course I decided that I wanted to help this guy out because I was really interested too. So after scouring the internet, couldn't really find much information on it. And then I came across the Aethersx2 Discord server. So I joined that and asked the question, how do you get the patches and cheats running on the Xbox version of Aethersx2? Now at first, people were quite polite, they were answering my questions, they were going into more details, until one guy asked a key question. What version are you on? So I sent him a screenshot of the version. He then proceeded to ask, are you running in retail mode or dev mode? And the second I put retail mode, I got a load of comments, some of them quite nasty. I didn't know what was going on at this point, so I later found out that the version that works on the retail side of the Xbox is actually a stolen application. It's an older version that's been repackaged and released. Now Aethersx clearly state in their terms and conditions that their app will never run in retail mode. It's dev mode only. So the issue that I was having in retail mode is the actual patch files didn't work on the earlier versions. It was actually fixed in version 450, but they also added anti-retail checks. So it basically means that the application, even if they try to repackage it, it won't work in retail mode. Now, the actual version of Aethersx2 that's up to date is 660 something. So there's a big difference and there's a lot of bug fixes into that version. So in summary, if you use the retail version, it's a stolen copy, it will never get updated, patch files don't work, and it's not really supporting the developer, even though you don't pay for the application, even in dev mode. As soon as I found out all this information, and I was still talking on their Discord server at the time, I came to the conclusion that retail mode wasn't the answer. Unfortunately, you do have to pay for dev mode, $19 or £12 in the UK. I think that's a small price to pay for all the updates you're going to get. The continued development is amazing. They have new builds all the time. They have nightly builds, and they're really concentrating on making this the best PlayStation 2 emulator there is. So that's enough talk about why you shouldn't use Aethersx2 in retail mode. Let's have a look at getting dev mode set up and the applications installed. Now for your convenience, I have actually got a link to the official Alien Gaming Google Drive where I'll have a single zip file where you can download and you'll get all the applications you're going to need. So let's head over to the Xbox and get this all set up. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're on the dashboard is push Y to bring up the search function and then type in dev. And then you'll see Xbox dev mode with a Series S and X in the icon. This is what you're going to want to install. Now this can take some time, so let's fast forward it. Now as soon as that's done, we can go ahead and launch it. And you should be presented with a welcome screen. Just click next here, next on the next screen, and then you'll be presented with a code. Now it's time to jump over to the PC. As you've seen as well, above the code there's a web address. Let's go to that address. aka.ms/activate Xbox, and you'll be presented with this screen, as long as you're signed in with your Microsoft account. Then we're going to click on the Settings tab at the top right, and then click on Programs. Now this has changed slightly. You used to have an icon that said Xbox, but now it's been integrated into the Windows options. It's Windows Apps and Games, and it includes Xbox. So we'll click on that. Getting started with Windows Apps. Just click Sign Up Now. So here's where you'll select your country or region. And as you can see, if we choose the United States, it's $19. And then if we change it to the UK, it's £12. Now I can't really show you this next part because you've got to put in your information, like your address, your email, etc. and obviously the payment information. So just go ahead and fill this out, and once you've made the payment, we'll go to the next screen. So this part's quite easy. Under Xbox Development Consoles, you want to click the plus sign, and then this is where it's asking for the code that was displayed on your Xbox. And as soon as you put that code in and hit submit, you're going to notice on your Xbox things have started to change. Congratulations, you are now in dev mode. Now the first time you do this, you're not going to see anything under Games and Apps. And also, we're going to have to set up remote access. So let's click on Remote Access Settings. In here, you'll see that you need to set a username and password. So go ahead and do that now. Also, under Remote Access, you'll see a web link. It's your IP address and then the port you need to connect to. So let's jump over to the PC. So the first time you go to that link, you're going to get this warning. Just click Advanced and proceed. You should get this window asking for your credentials. That's the username and password you set up for remote access. So to add an application, you click on the Add button and then you click Choose a File. We're going to use RetroArch as an example. Click Next and then it asks for the dependencies. And in the case of RetroArch, it's Microsoft VCL libraries. Then you'll click on Start. I'm not going to do it here because I've already got it installed. It'll install and it'll just say Done. Now in the case of the FTP client Durango, we'll go into FTP folder and then we'll click on Durango. That's the main application. Click on Next, and now we have to install the dependencies. They're in the separate x64 folder, and we want to install everything that's in here, so all 3 files. Just add them all individually, and once you've got them all added, you just click on Start. Now this is also the case when you install the application Safe Exit. What this application does is when you're in dev mode, it puts a shortcut, you'll click on it and it will basically shut down dev mode, restart your console into retail mode. Very handy to have. As you can see, it has 3 dependencies in that same x64 folder. Thankfully, Aethersx2 doesn't have any dependencies. You select the file, you click Next, then you just click Start. So now when we go onto the Xbox, you'll see all your applications installed under Games and Apps. But don't launch anything just yet, we need to change a setting. So for Aethersx2, by default it'll run in app mode. So we need to click the 2 squares, click View Details, and here you can see we've got App and Game. It needs to be set to Game. I'd also recommend changing the FTP client to Game. Even though technically it is an app, I had a few problems where some folders were completely empty. Again, RetroArch, change that from app to Game. Safe Exit can just stay as an app. Now I'm not going to go over how to set up Aethersx2 in dev mode because it's exactly the same as in retail mode, and I've already done a video on that. So click up there to see that video and just skip ahead until it's actually installed. The setup process is exactly the same. I'm also not going to go over the patch files, and that's why I made this video in the first place. But this video is getting quite long, and I do want to go in depth with the patch files because there's a lot to it. But I will be making an in-depth video going into all the patches, so that's covering the cheats, the modifications, the 60 FPS hacks, all that good stuff. So get subscribed so you don't miss any of that. And another good reason to subscribe is I'll be giving away a brand new PlayStation 5 Disc Edition when we reach 5,000 subscribers. And we're pretty close. I'm JP, you've been watching Alien Retro Gaming, and I'll catch you in the next one. PCSX2. PCSX2. Modifications, all that good stuff. People are so noisy in my house.